Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Lorri Anderson, contributor for FreedomOutpost.com, host for Resurrect the Republic, RTR Truth Radio broadcast. And I wanted to come to you with some of the stories about the voter fraud. Many of you have been watching about the voter fraud that's been being exposed all the way back when Project Veritas had released undercover video footage all the way back in 2016 before the presidential elections actually happened, exposing that the Democratic National Committee was involved in massive voter fraud. Well, of course, you know, we have the fictitious Russian narrative that's been blown all to smithereens. CNN, people off of CNN being fired because of the wonderful undercover work, once again, by Project Veritas. James O'Keefe and all of the reporters there at Project Veritas, hat tip to you. Great job. The gift that keeps on giving, and keep doing what you are doing. The American people, thank you. So on that note, I wanted to bring to your attention this young man right here. And I say young man because he is 21 years old. And he is a student of James Madison University, Andrew Spieles. He is leaving the federal courthouse in downtown Harrisonburg with his family and attorney, Gene Hart, after pleading guilty to voter fraud charges. Spieles, a 21-year-old student at James Madison University, submitted 18 fraudulent voter registration forms to the Harrisonburg Registrar in connection with the 2016 presidential election. Now, that photo is courtesy of the Daily News Record, but I'm going to take you to the official site of what has been released from the Department of Justice about this individual. This individual, as you can see, the United States Department of Justice released on Tuesday, June the 20th of 2017. This is for immediate release, Western District of Virginia. Harrisonburg man pled guilty to submitting fraudulent voter registration forms. Andrew J. Spieles caused 18 false and fraudulent voter registration forms to be submitted to the Harrisonburg Registrar's office in connection with the November 2016 national election. Harrisonburg, Virginia. Acting United States Attorney Rick A. Mountcastle announced today that a former staffer with Harrisonburg Votes, a political organization affiliated with the Democratic Party, who was paid to register area voters during the weeks leading up to the 2016 national election, admitted in federal court that he caused 18 fraudulent Virginia voter registration forms to be submitted to the local registrar's office. Andrew Spieles, 21 years old, of Harrisonburg, pled guilty today in the United States District Court for the Western District of Virginia in Harrisonburg to a one-count information charging him with knowingly transferring false Virginia voter registration forms as part of a plea agreement. Spieles agreed to a prison sentence of 100 to 120 days. According to evidence presented at today's guilty plea hearing by the Assistant United States Attorney Jeb Tyranny, I apologize if I messed up that name. In July of 2016, Spieles' job was to register as many voters as possible and reported to Democratic campaign headquarters in Harrisonburg. In August of 2016, Spieles was directed to combine his registration numbers with those of another individual because their respective territories overlapped. After filling out a registration form for a voter, Spieles entered the information into a computer system used by the Virginia Democratic Party to track information such as name, age, address, and political affiliation. Every Thursday, an employee or a volunteer hand-delivered the paper copies of registration forms to the registrar's office in Harrisonburg. On August the 15th, 2016, an employee of the registrar's office contacted law enforcement after another employee in the office recognized a registration form submitted in the name of a deceased father of a Rockingham County judge. The Registrar's office discovered multiple instances of similar falsified forms when it reviewed additional registrations. Some were in the names of deceased individuals, while others bore incorrect middle names, birth dates, and social security numbers. The Registrar's office learned that the individuals named in these forms had not in fact submitted the new voter registrations. The Assistant Registrar's personal knowledge of the names of some of the individuals named in the falsified documents facilitated the detection of the crime. Spieles admitted that he prepared the false voter registration forms by obtaining the name, age, and address of individuals from, quote, walk sheets, unquote, provided to him by the Virginia Democratic Party, fabricating a birth date based on the ages listed in the walk sheet, and fabricating social security numbers. Spieles admitted that he created all 18 fraudulent forms himself and that no one else participated in the crime. The investigation of the case was conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Harrisonburg Police Department. The Rockingham County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office also assisted in the investigation. Assistant United States Attorney Jeb Tyranny prosecuted the case for the United States. So as you can see, absolutely voter fraud is happening. Don't think we really need to be concerned about Russia. How about we focus on what is inside the United States of America that has so rampantly tried to make our votes a joke, and that is the Democratic National Committee. This is why they want you to be focused on Russia, because they don't want you to focus on their corruption of what they did to Bernie Sanders. They don't want you to focus on what they've done to the American people. They surely don't want you to focus on how they've been rigging the elections via sending people in for over 50 years. If you remember back in 2016, Project Veritas Action with James O'Keefe, the gift that keeps on giving. They exposed massive voter fraud that was going on before the presidential election ever happened. I'm going to let you hear a clip from what James O'Keefe had to say and what some of these individuals had to say. I will leave links in the description box below for you to be able to pull up these sources for yourself so that you can see the full video footage and dig into this. Voter fraud? Yes. Is Russia the threat? Absolutely not. The Democratic National Committee needs to not only be investigated, people need to go to jail. And as you can see, at least one person so far is headed there. However, make no mistake, even though he claims he acted on his own, you know, it has been proven time and time again that they try to keep themselves at bay and they let the lower individuals rot. When will these young individuals learn that they are not going to be covered for their illegal actions if they get caught? And they are doing this in order to help those that are corrupt, and they're under the illusion that because they are going along with that game, that they have nothing to worry about. That is far from the truth. Let's see what James O'Keefe had to say all the way back in 2016 when he exposed in undercover audio and video of what was really going on with the DNC when it came to voter fraud.
Part 2 of our undercover investigation into the dark, backroom dealings of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Part 1 blew up on social media, with many Americans wondering why the mainstream media wasn't covering the story. In fact, Project Veritas Action had television exclusives lined up around the country. Those television stations spiked the story at the last minute. Our sources tell us the reason they did so was fear of retaliation and retribution from a future Hillary Clinton administration. Truth is dangerous, especially when it challenges those in power. In this video, Democratic operatives tell us how to successfully commit voter fraud on a massive scale.
Is that a for union, guys?
Oh yeah.
You want? Yeah. They're rock and roll.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the NC for all things Trump on the ground. Nobody's really supposed to know about me.
No, I'm saying, we have mentally ill people that we pay to do shit. Make no mistake.
This guy named Cesar Vargas is his name.
I got a priest to cry on camera once.
You know, Brad and Bob and Lux and myself are all part of the old school method where it doesn't matter what the freaking legal and ethics people say. We need to win this motherfucker.
So Bob is really good friends with him, and talked to him this afternoon. And they are all in. If we can get 25 grand, they're all in.
Our investigators wanted to find out what it would take to get the highest favorable turnout. Democratic politico Scott Fovel was our target, and he was more than willing to lead us through the process of how to rig an election.
We did to them when we were in charge too. So what did we do? We did the exact same thing. Only we manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws. It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in, you fucking asshole, for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we used to bus people out to Iowa.
When we met Scott Fovel, he worked for People for the American Way, an organization funded in large part by George Soros. He now works for Americans United for Change. It's a nonprofit that claims to, quote, move America in a new, better direction, unquote. With guys like Fovel working for them, we wonder what direction that might be.
When I do this, I think as an investigator first.
Good, yeah, work backwards, yes. Yeah, that's great.
I used to do the investigation.
Yeah.
It's a different method. I think backwards from how they would prosecute, if they could, and then try to build out the method to avoid that.
The plan that was discussed was how to bring people from one state into another state to vote illegally.
They could invalidate. Well, okay, let's just say, in theory, if a major investigation came up of major vote fraud that way, how would they prove it and who would they charge? Are they going to charge each individual? Oh, sorry. Are they going to charge each individual with voter fraud?
See, that's
Or are they going to go after the facilitator for conspiracy, which they could prove? And it's one thing if all these people drive up in their personal cars. If there's a bus involved, that changes the dynamic. So it's the legality. Well, yeah. Because you can prove conspiracy if there's a bus.
Yeah.
If there are cars, it's much harder to prove.
And there's enough money.
If there's enough money, then you have people drive their POV.
Absolutely.
Or you have them drive rentals.
Yeah, with Wisconsin license plates.
Absolutely. Well, you can't have them with Wisconsin license plates because rentals here, most of them don't have Wisconsin license plates.
Oh.
But there's this thing called used car auction. Used car auction. The titles belong to some unknown company. They're company cars.
And you know, these are multiple employers. These are not all one employer.
Yeah. Use shell companies.
Yeah.
Cars come from one company, the paychecks come from another. There's no bus involved, so you can't prove that it's en masse.
There you go.
It doesn't tip people off.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
See, okay, yeah. So now I'm starting to see that. Yeah. Okay.
So if you want to hear more about this, as always, I will have the link in the description box below. But one does have to wonder, is this student one of those individuals that was thrown under the bus so conspiracy couldn't be proven? Is he taking the fall for the bigger guy? Either way, it's sad at 21 years old, student of James Madison University, who apparently never read any of James Madison's writings, has now been convicted via a plea bargain for fraudulent voter registration of dead people voting in the election. And still, Hillary Clinton didn't win. What does that say about your candidate? As always, watch your backs, check your facts, Semper Fidelis, and have a wonderful night.